Let's get into it right away. You go into UFC Vegas 51 against Istela Nunes. You get the majority decision. Let's get into the first round. How were you feeling during those exchanges? Because some of those exchanges were pretty wild in the first.
Yeah, no, she hits very hard. I will say that, and I said that to my corners after the fight. I was not necessarily surprised by how hard she hit, but it took me a little bit to kind of get my momentum going, and as I knew it would, we had a very like a tough warm up, so it got me nice and sweaty, and I feel like I was warmed up and everything, but there's a big difference between going out there and starting strong and like starting right out of the gun. And I kind of thought I did, but I was trying to get her timing down, and she had like really good foot movement, so it was hard to get her timing down. But once I did in the second and the third, I think that's when the momentum started to change. But yeah, that first round, I just felt like I was too slow, too hesitant, and not firing first, which was the game plan.
Mm. And her teeps, it seemed like they were pretty effective early in the fight.
They were. They didn't necessarily hurt, but she did a very good job at keeping me away in that distance and at perfect distance to be a Muay Thai fighter, which was teep and then head kick or body kick And I actually thought she was going to land more body kicks. That's why I was trying to like keep my elbows down and in the whole time. But yeah, she kicked more in the first round than I thought. But I did see her take a big deep breath in the second. She was like. And I was like, all right, I got you. I got your ticket. And then that's whenever I started picking it up.
Yeah, those little cues, I guess, they allow you to, I don't even know if they allow you to, but it kind of triggers something in you that builds some confidence, I guess.
It does. It definitely felt like the momentum shifted. Once I saw that, I was like, okay, she's starting to wear down, and I was starting to ramp up. So it's funny. It's like she's coming down and I'm coming up. It's like there's this impasse. And yeah, it felt really good because I did definitely feel the momentum shift.
The commentators, they were mentioning something about a bruise or a cut on your nose before the fight even
Yes.
started. What happened?
So it was this little cut right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it actually happened not the Thursday before, but the like 10 days before the fight. So I was in wrestling practice and wrestling with one of my training partners, Pablo, and it was just like a mat burn. We didn't collide, but I think like his glove grazed my nose, and it was that just like that first layer of skin that just tore it off. And the only thing that was coming out, it wasn't even bloody. It was just like that plasma. So it was just liquid that was coming out. And it took forever to heal because as I kept wrestling and as the days went on, and even when I was like sweating, it the scab would just come off and then it would take forever to heal again. So it was funny because I talked to Safe before and I was like, well, I'm gonna cover it up for the face-offs. So nobody knew. Like the commentators didn't know. I don't think she knew because I put makeup over it whenever we squared off, and so that's why DC he made that comment and he was like, she didn't have that at the face-offs yesterday, or she didn't have that at weigh-ins, and it was like, yeah, because I covered it up, but I'm not gonna wear makeup going into the octagon. So that's when everybody could see, and I was like, well, at least you could see that I had like this thing prior to the fight. So it didn't really matter, but it didn't hurt. It didn't bother me. It didn't do anything. It was just an open wound that looked weird. But yeah, all it was just like a mat burn.
Yeah, we've seen fighters enter the octagon with staff, it looks like, you know what I mean? Bad
Yes.
staff. And of course, they're not going to stop, you from fighting if there's a little scar or something on your nose. But
Exactly.
going back to the fight, at the end of the second round, you took her down and had her in that crucifix position. Do you feel like 30 more seconds, a minute more,
Yes.
you would have ended that fight?
Yeah, that killed me watching it because I've rewatched it today. And man, I keep kicking myself because I'm like, man, if I would have just taken her down, a minute before and had that 30 seconds where I could have, because she was stuck. She was obviously stuck. She wasn't doing anything to get out of it. So I was like, if I just had 30 more seconds, I think Mark would have stopped it. So that would have been nice, but
Yeah,
it
you
is what it
did.
is.
You did have her stuck because the crucifix is a tough position just to be in, and then you had her against the fence, like in that little
Yeah.
nook, like her head
Yep.
was at the nook. Like there was nowhere to move. If you continued
No.
punching her, it would have been, yeah, like you said, it probably would have been stopped.
Yeah, so I was really happy with that position getting in there. Unfortunately, I think it was just a little too late.
Yeah, we see that all the time. And
Yep.
then the third round comes around. The ref finally takes a point for eye pokes. I mean, were you kind of pissed off in the cage?
Yeah, I was frustrated, but I didn't want to show it. I was just like, just stay the course. It'll be fine. Mark, I feel like is one of the better refs. And it was funny because right whenever we were in the warm up room and it was just my team, and he walked in, I was like, yes, I'm so happy Mark's my ref because I love him so much. He's really good, and I've seen him ref hundreds of other fights, and he always does a very good job. So I was super happy once he finally took that point because yeah, it was really frustrating. Even the doctor said as he watched the fight and then afterwards he stitched me up, he goes, man, it really looked like she was like taking her thumb and like pushing it in. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what she was doing every single time. And so that was frustrating. Even in watching the fights before I actually fought her, I mean, I saw cage grabs, I saw eye pokes. There was like a number of things that were kind of adding up that I was like, okay, I've got to keep an eye on this. And my Safe was telling me, he was like, I'm just gonna tell Mark, to watch out for this, and this because she does this quite often. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's important. You study
it
her,
is.
and then you also study if your opponent does some unusual things, and you let the ref know. I think that is part of the sport. I think we should, look at that even deeper. You know what I mean? Like, what was it? 4 eye pokes?
It was 4. Yep, it was 4.
Man, that's 3 too many, to be honest with you. You
I
know what I mean?
agree.
You
I
know.
agree.
I
Yeah,
think they give you a warning in the back, right? There's no eye
they do.
pokes. Watch the hit strikes to the back of the head. That's the warning, right? And then you go out
Yep.
there and they give you 3 more warnings. It's something has to change with that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people. Your event last weekend, there was I think 2 fights where they ended with the penalty, and then they went to the
Yeah.
judges. It was weird. Like I didn't really understand fully like what was going on.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, there was a couple crazy things that happened, and yeah, unfortunately, it's the sport. But I don't know. I like the gloves that we use, but there's got to be something different. I mean, I think it comes down to just discipline and individual fighters just keeping your hands closed because it's not that difficult to keep them either all the way up or closed fist. But yeah, something's got to change with that.
You said in the post-fight press conference that you had the most fun in a long time in an actual fight. Why did you feel that way under the circumstances you were in?
Yeah. So, John, it's I reflected quite a bit in this camp, and I had to have a lot of real talks with myself, and just say like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep going into that octagon? But I was in a really bad situation in Washington, just a toxic, very toxic coaching staff, and just bad environment all around. And I'm just so happy that I finally got out of that situation after, my mom was constantly being like, you need to just move, just please move, just now's the time to do it because otherwise you're going to ruin your career. And finally, after listening to her for 3 years, I finally did it. But there was a lot of things that I had to work through in that process of, getting better as a martial artist, and as well as, dealing with a lot of trauma and things that happened in my previous camps. But the thing that kind of just boiled down to was I was like, why are you doing this? Because you love to compete, because you love the sport, and you want to be the best. So how do you perform at your best? You have fun and you enjoy being there. And that was the thing that I kept telling myself is I was like, no matter what, I'm just going to enjoy being there. And the whole week, John, it was so much fun because I was like, I'm just enjoying this week. I'm enjoying every single day being there. I'm enjoying going to the PI. I'm just thankful and grateful to be there and be a part of the process and show what I'm truly capable of. And I think I showed a little, like a glimmer of that. And I was maybe operating at 60, 70%. So I think in my next fight, hopefully, if I sign another fight, I'm going to be operating at 80%. And, if that's a few months down the line, it's going to be even better. And I get to show like what a true martial artist I am. So, yeah, boiling it back down to the basics of enjoying yourself and having fun was the true like winning ticket for me to be able to capture that win.
Definitely, and having the right people around you to guide you and support you. And you mentioned that you were in this toxic environment. What was the breaking point, you think?
The breaking point was just I was just at my wit's end, and I was like, I keep losing, and why do I keep losing? It's like, well, I keep fighting with my old coach, and I keep like nothing's getting better. You know, I was wanting to train. I was wanting him to be there with me. I wasn't like, I was like, hey, I want to go to these other gyms and train with other people and you not be theirs. But it was a thing that boiled down to control and manipulation, and things like that. So I think after all said and done, I was just like, how many times are you going to go through the same thing? You know, that's the definition of insanity, is, you know, doing the same exact thing and expecting a different result. And I would just had to be like, well, if I fight my last fight, I'm probably, because I'm not happy. I wasn't happy for up there for like about 3 or 4 years. And so that to me was the breaking point. Was I knew after my fight in November, I was like, no matter the outcome, I'm moving. So part of me kind of regrets taking that short notice fight against
Pinero?
Luana.
Yeah.
Luana. Because she is so tough, and because it was like on eight days notice, I believe. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think like, you know, I needed money at that point, and that's never a good thing. You never want to accept a fight for that reason. And so I was like, well, I need to kind of fund my trip to Texas, and I knew I was moving. So there was just a bunch of different factors that went into that I do regret, but it got me to where I am right now, and I'm so thankful. Like, nobody can take this one away from me, and that's like the greatest thing about it, is like I went out and I had a goal, and, you know, Safe and Charles and Alex, they all helped me. Everybody at Fortis, like, they were so amazing. So yeah, I couldn't be happier.
It sounds like you found a solid home for yourself for the rest of your career.
I did, and that's the plan, is just to keep this ball rolling.
Yeah, and I was talking with Douglas Fry, Jin's.
Oh, I love Douglas.
Yeah, Jin's husband, right? Great guy,
Yep.
you know, great coach. And Jin is going out there, and I remember Douglas was talking about how you just showed up at the gym one day, and then Jin had a solid trading partner now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's another woman, you know, that she could, you know, same size. And how has it been working with her?
Amazing. It's been awesome, because I love Jen. She's a workhorse, man. That girl works her butt off. And you know, her and I have like the same mentality. Whenever we show up in the gym, it's like, hey, we're there for business, but right after, we can be like hugs and like laugh and have a lot of fun. But we're there for business. And man, if you could be a fly on that wall for our sparring rounds, like, we throw down. And it's so funny, because there's a lot of guys in the gym that like will like watch us and be like, dude, you guys had like a full-on UFC fight every single weekend. So it's been really fun, because I've learned a lot from her as far as wrestling. I think she's one of the best wrestlers in the strawweight division, in my opinion. And as far as striking, I think her and I go back and forth, and it's highly competitive. So we've learned so much from each other, and we're just growing, and we just keep like building each other up. So I was disappointed that she didn't end up fighting Hannah Goldie. That was really disappointing. But in June, I'm really excited to see her fight Vanessa Demopoulos, because yeah, it'll be really good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good fight. It's a good matchup for Jin, to be honest with you. You know, she's the favorite. I look at it like that. Have you and your team spoken with the UFC about, you know, a new contract? Because I know that was your last fight.
Yeah, it was. Safe and I had talked about it, you know, this weekend, and he said that he was going to talk to the UFC, he was going to talk to Mick, and we'll just see what happens. But as of right now, I don't know anything. If I think, you know, the greatest outcome of this would for me to just sign, you know, a second contract and get 4 fights. But I'm not that hopeful. I'm more realistic, and I'm like, well, you know what? If I have to prove myself and if I can just get one, and, you know, show my performance level and show like truly what I can do, that would be great for me. So as of right now, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think he's in the works.
What about a particular opponent you see in the strawweight division that could, bring out this type of performance that you're looking for? Do you see anybody?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually don't have anybody in mind right this minute. Obviously, down the line, I would love to do a rematch with either Luana or Loma. I think those would be really good wins to get back. But yeah, I don't know anybody right now. I'm just kind of still riding high on this weekend, and haven't given it much thought.
What's the fastest do you think you'll return? Because it feels like, well, it doesn't feel like, but it seems like, it's better to just take a fight and have some time to have a training camp and get into the fight rather than just, jump up and be like, hey, I'm here. Let me just jump in on a week's notice.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at it too. It's like I've had short notice fights. I've done that. I've done that route. And I love having a camp. I mean, everything changed for me whenever I had a camp. So I would love to just, talk with Safe and figure out like what our next moves are, if when our next fight is, and then, kind of plan something for either the end of the summer or beginning of fall. Like that would be ideal for me.
Well, I have no doubt in my mind they're gonna re-sign you and give you
Thank
another
you.
contract.
That means a lot.
Yeah, that's when your first 3 fights, like you gotta look at the level of competition where you're just jumping in and you didn't even have, that was just your 10th fight as a professional, and you're fighting, top contenders at your 7th or 8th pro fight is a pretty big feat, right? So, I think that they see some good matchups, down the line for you.
I think so too. And the biggest thing for me is I have to think that Mick sees that, I've changed camps and I'm with, one of the greatest teams ever. And so, I think, that holds a lot of stock. So we'll see. We'll just see what happens.
Best of luck on all of that. And hopefully we see you, in the summer sometime returning on
I sure hope so. I really hope so. Either like a pay-per-view fight or something with an audience, because I really miss that.
All right, Sam. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck on, getting re-signed and rebooked and seeing, a better version of you in that octagon.
Thank you, John. That means a lot. I appreciate it.